It is a Big 12 tournament reaction here on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube page, also on Twitter at 580 Sports Talk, also on Facebook at WIWW News. I'm Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is here. We are high atop the T-Mobile Center, and we just saw Kansas State pull an upset, and Kansas not do that. K-State is moving on in this tournament. They were victorious 78-74 over Texas. Shorthanded KU got drilled by the Cincinnati Bearcats 72-52. So let's start, Spencer, with Kansas State, who was down by 10 at halftime and then completely flipped the game on its ear in the second half. It was really impressive what they were able to do. They shot over 50% in the second half, and they ended up pulling away for a victory.
Yeah, they really did, and it's a tale of two halves. It's one of those times where you really say it's a tale of two halves. They were down 10 at the half, 39-29, and they completely flipped the script in the second half. They scored 49 points. They scored 20 more points in the second half than they did in the first half. And Texas only mustered up 35, and it was definitely led the charge, or Tyler Perry led the charge, I should say. And it seemed like it, as we've known all season long, the reason why he came to K-State was to play in the NCAA tournament. In order to get in the NCAA tournament, they really need to win a few games here in the conference tournament. And after the game, seeing some video down the tunnel, he was really excited, and he really led the charge in this one. He went 10 of 10 at the foul line tonight.
Sorry, folks, muted there for a second. I really liked what Day-Day Ames did in this game for Kansas State. Maybe an unsung box score hero a little bit. Day-Day ended up finishing the night with 10 points, only his seventh double-figure scoring game of the year. But he had some big buckets, some big drives in that second quarter, or second half rather, was really emerging as a playmaker. And that's always been the big thing for Kansas State, right? Is they need that secondary playmaking and scoring to step forward and help out Tyler Perry, who did have the big game, 25 points, help out Arthur Kaluma, help out Cam Carter. Tonight it was Day-Day Ames. I thought he played a really nice game and really gave Kansas State a boost in that second half.
Yeah, I mean, Day-Day Ames really did that. I think the power of getting five guys in a double figures really helped them in the second half of this contest. They finished the game shooting 47% from the field. They only shot 37 in the first half. So overall, as a team, it was obviously an improved effort in the second half, shooting 55.5 or nearly 55.5%. But it's the scoring. Tyler Perry scored 21 in this one. The fact that you got four other guys in the double figures really helped this game move along for the Wildcats and able to get the win tonight and continue their pursuit of an NCAA tournament spot. But they did.
One number that I think jumps off the stat sheet, Spencer, is the turnover number, because that, of course, has been such an Achilles heel for Kansas State all season long. And in the first half of this game, they had 8 turnovers, but only 2 second-half turnovers. And that does two things. One, it lets you get into your offense and get shots up, which any shot is a better possession than not shooting the ball, giving the ball away. And K-State has been about an average-ish offense when they shoot. Like field goal-wise, they're about an average offense. It's the turnovers that have made them so subpar in a lot of these games. So avoiding that turnover in the second half, the other thing that did was that kept Texas from being able to get out and run and get easy baskets. And they were starving for offense in the second half. They ended up shooting below 30% in the second half. And without a late flurry from Max Asmus, I don't know what they would have ended up shooting, but it wouldn't have been pretty. So the turnover number was the biggest one, I think, for Kansas State that really jumps off the page and makes me think that's the thing, that if Kansas State can do that, that's going to make them dangerous as they move forward in this tournament. We mentioned Day-Day Ames played a fine game. Cam Carter hit a couple of big free throws late down the stretch. Arthur Kaluma, foul trouble in the first half, stayed on the court in the second half, was really good, had 12 of his 14 points. David Gasson, another solid workman-like game for him, 10 points. K-State's defense, so much better when he's on the court. I say it after every K-State game I watch. They're better when Gasson's out there. So good effort for K-State's best five, which really helped to see them through in this one. And they are moving on to the quarterfinal round where they will play Iowa State. And it's another chance to beat a team you just beat at home on Saturday, and it's another chance to add a quad one win. There are some bracketologists out there, including one pretty prominent one, Bart Torvik, who has K-State as it stands in the NCAA tournament with just the win today. Now, I'm of the mind that this isn't going to be enough, that they're going to need to add at least one more if they want to really have an interesting tournament conversation, but they have kept themselves alive, and that's all you can do. It's survive in advance when you get to March, of course. Let's move on to the Kansas game. Kansas loses by 20 to Cincinnati, and there's not a lot, frankly, to say about this basketball game. The two leading scorers for Kansas, Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough, did not play, and everybody who was not KJ Adams shot the ball like they were blindfolded. And that's a really good way to lose a basketball game. But the opportunity was there because Cincinnati didn't really play well. They closed the game well. They ended up winning by 20, but there was a big, big chunk of that second half where the door was wide open and KU just simply would not walk through that door.
It was there, Dan, and there was a point where KU had outscored Cincinnati. I think it was 14-2 to start things out in the second half, and the door was wide open. Nicholas Timberlake missed a wide open three that would have tied the game at 41. And that was really the pivotal moment, I think, in the contest, because if you hit that three, it's a tie ball game. That changes how things go. But the door was wide open so many times. Cincinnati wasn't hitting any points there, and KU had the opportunity, and they just couldn't. And I think you tweeted sometime during the game, you were like, there is literally no one behind Dickinson and McCullough besides Adams. Like, you need more guys to score. You would think Kansas, a perennial team in the country, would have guys that can score the basketball, but that's not the case this year.
Yeah, it's pretty startling to watch a Kansas team and think, okay, you're down your two best scorers, and that leaves you with nobody who can consistently score the basketball. And I'll give KJ Adams credit because he tried. 9 of 14 from the field, tied a career high with 22 points. Thought he was pretty good tonight, but everybody else was to some degree of not good enough. Juan Harris played, I mean, by his standards, that was not acceptable. KU needed a lot more from a veteran point guard like DeJuan Harris, and he went 3 of 11 from the field. He missed that little push shot floater he always seems to make. Finished with 8 points and 5 assists, but also turned the ball over 4 times. So it wasn't just that he wasn't scoring and missing shots. He was also uncharacteristically sloppy with the basketball. Nicholas Timberlake, I'm done, uncle. Like, I don't know what he gives you that at this point Michael Jankovic wouldn't give you. And Jankovic is probably a better shooter. Timberlake was 2 of 9, 1 of 5 from 3. He made a 3-pointer late in the game when it was starting to get out of hand. And the reaction for the crowd was like new parents watching their toddler go poo-poo in the big boy potty for the first time. Like that's where we're at with a guy who was brought here to be a shooter, and he's passing out a wide open look because he's got no confidence. I really don't know how. In the NCAA tournament, the goal ought to be 0 Timberlake minutes. Play Jamari McDowell instead. I know McDowell about killed a guy with a bad miss from 3-point range, but he also made one. He went 1 for 4 from 3, and that's not his game. And he still shot it as well as Nicholas Timberlake. You know what I know McDowell's going to do? Guard, rebound, do some good things, take care of the ball. Timberlake just gave KU nothing, which has been all year long. Elmarco Jackson, 2 of 11, 0 for 4 from the field. At least he got 9 rebounds, but again, just further evidence that it's just not coming together for Elmarco Jackson. Johnny Furphy, 1 for 8. He crashed into the freshman wall like when the Wile E. Coyote is chasing the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner paints like on the wall, he paints like the tunnel on the wall, and Wile E. Coyote thinks it's real and just runs into it and just goes splat, and have to peel him off like the side of the rock face or whatever. That's Johnny Furphy the last 3 weeks, hitting the freshman wall. And then the bench gave him nothing either. It was just Cincinnati didn't play well. I really don't think they played well. They They only shot 38%. They were 9 of 26 from three. The one thing they did do well, because they always do it well, and they were going to do it well against a small KU team playing KJ Adams at the 5, was rebound. And they beat KU on the boards 49-38, and they had 16 offensive rebounds, and that was really pivotal for them. Kind of woke up their offense a little bit after they'd really sputtered the first 7-8 minutes of the second half. Was it getting a second chance bucket? So that was the thing they did well. I don't think they did anything else well. They didn't have to. That's how poorly KU played.
Yeah, they did play really poorly in this one, and right now where we are high atop the T-Mobile Center in the media area, they have Coach Self press conference playing right now for the media that are here and didn't go down to the press conference. And he said what everybody else knew. We just couldn't shoot the basketball tonight. Like, what else do you have to say? Like, there's really nothing else that he can say tonight that'll change anything. Like, they just didn't. There was one player that shot the basketball tonight at a respectable percentage, and that was KJ Adams, who tied his career high. Besides that, as you mentioned, there's Johnny Furphy has hit that wall. You bring in Timberlake to do what you thought he could do, but he couldn't do that at all. And it's just, I mean, it's a 20-point loss in this one. They're going home. I don't even know. I mean, Coach Self he's said now twice. He said in the pregame interview on the network call, and then what he said on Monday night on his coach's show, that both McCullough Jr. and Dickinson will be back practicing by Monday. He seems like it's a sure thing. They're both going to be full go. Nothing's going to be wrong with them by the time the NCAA tournament starts. And I find that hard to believe for McCullough, because he said 2 weeks ago on a Monday, yeah, we're just going to hold him out. He might not even play in the conference tournament. And then he comes back on that Saturday and plays, and then re-injures himself. I don't know what to think of this KU team, especially down the stretch. You had an opportunity, and the injuries have killed them, but you're KU. You should have that depth, and clearly this year's team doesn't have that depth.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem for this KU team. Is not that they don't have great players. They do. Dickinson and McCullough are first-team all-conference players. It's not that high-end talent that KU is missing. It's guys behind that just not being good enough scoring, not delivering the shooting, just not being what was expected of them. And I mean, Furphy's a freshman. They're going to have their ebbs and flows, and Furphy's had some really good moments, and I think he's a good player. DeJuan Harris is, what he is. He's not going to all of a sudden become a top-tier scoring option, but that's what KU needed from him tonight if they were going to be competitive. I think the really frustrating thing for KU is if Cincinnati had played great, like KU wasn't going to be able to keep up with that. Cincinnati left KU a door open, and KU was just not able.
On multiple times, too. Multiple times throughout the night, the door was wide open. And, I tweeted it on the 580 account. The door was wide open, but KU still outside, way outside. They were not even in a driveway at some points.
Couple of things from the comments. We appreciate you hanging out with us live here on this Big 12 tournament. Instant reaction from the 580 Sports Talk crew. Kelly from Facebook said, missing two players worth a 20-point loss. Times are starting to change. KU isn't the big guy on the block anymore. I'm going to go ahead and say that the team that won a national championship 2 years ago and was a number one seed, won the league going away last year, is probably still a big guy on the block. I don't think that this season really means anything negative long-term about KU basketball. This year they missed. Bill Self had a bad year roster construction, and you're seeing they are reaping what they have sown with the mistake they made recruiting certified bad guy Arterio Morrison. He never plays a game for him, missing out on Harrison Ingram. Just didn't build a very good roster. They struck out with Nick Timberlake. They thought he'd be better than he was, and he wasn't. They could very easily go to the transfer portal, and the guys they get next year end up being Remy Martin or like an Isaiah Moss, guys who do give them that shooting or do give them that playmaking, do give them that athleticism that they need. But this year, yeah, they absolutely struck out. And this year's team, yeah, missing two players was worth a 20-point loss to this team, especially when those two guys are that good. Because don't get it twisted, Dickinson and McCullough are fabulous players, but not just are they that good. It's are they so much better than everybody else on the roster? Are they the only guys who can score on the roster. That is, again, the biggest problem for Kansas. Gene on YouTube asks about Day-Day Ames. We touched on him a little bit earlier in the video, but a real quick reset. Day-Day Ames was awesome. I thought it was the best game that he has played. I thought he looked confident. I thought he looked under control. I thought that he gave K-State energy. And that was a really positive game for Day-Day, and I think his future is very bright in the K-State purple. Mark checks in on the YouTube comments. If K-State beats Iowa State, I think they'll get in the NCAA tournament. I'm more willing to have that conversation than I was maybe even this morning, based on some of the other results from other bubble teams across the country. Villanova barely beating DePaul tonight. Yeah, I think K-State did more to help themselves get on the right side of the bubble than Villanova did. That's for certain there. But thank you all for the comments. So the quarterfinals are set for tomorrow. BYU, who made 14 3-pointers and won their game, because that's what happens when they make 14 threes.
And that's just what BYU does.
Right. BYU is going to play Texas Tech. That's going to be the 11:30 game. Then the 2 o'clock game is going to be the number 1 seed Houston, and they are going to play against TCU, who handled Oklahoma with relative ease. So Houston TCU is that 2 o'clock game. Then the 6 o'clock game will be K-State against Iowa State for the third time this year. The rubber match, each team won on their own respective home floors. And then the late game, the 8 o'clock or 8:30 contest, that's going to be the Cincinnati Bearcats, the 11 seed, taking on the number 3 seed Baylor. Couple quick facts about Kansas. This is the first time that KU did not win a tournament game at the Big 12 tournament since 2017. They went to the Elite Eight that year. Not all was lost. They lost their first tournament game. But this is also the first time that KU has missed the quarterfinals ever. That's never happened. So this is the first time that KU will not play on quarterfinal Thursday since the Big 12 tournament has been the Big 12 tournament. That's going to do it for us. We got to get home. We got to make sure we dodge whatever weather hell awaits us outside T-Mobile Center. We genuinely have no idea what to expect when we get out of here and try and get back to our vehicle. But we're going to head back to Topeka, and we're going to come right back here tomorrow for some more basketball and some more reaction after K-State's game tomorrow. They play at 6 o'clock against Iowa State. We'll react to that right here on these same social channels. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. He's Spencer Dupuis. I'm Dan Lucero. This is the Big 12 Tournament Instant Reaction live from the T-Mobile Center. 580 WIBW, 580 Sports Talk, YouTube, Twitter, and WIBW News on Facebook. Couldn't quite land the plane. We'll try to do better tomorrow. See ya.